and change it. So it is at this time you are investing at such very early stage, having plan B's and C's and having thought through multiple, that doesn't really work. And to some extent, I don't even like having that. So it is so early, this is something that you believe in, you have thought through whatever you have thought through, you have done some research, you've talked to the customers quite a bit and so on and so forth. And, this is a time to just go and do it, and if shit happens, then change. And the question is whether the person is capable of changing.
So just out of curiosity, do you look at, has the person had a background of handling situations where he's dealt with ambiguity, like you rightly mentioned, he's been in situations where he's really, either in terms of his work environment or in his business environment, faced reality like that earlier? Because other than that, if you're just talking to somebody, I'm not saying it's easy, it will be really very difficult to understand and evaluate how well will he deal with ambiguity when he faces it subsequently in his own business then.
Yeah, I mean, there is, if we have the luxury of really getting to know the person a lot, which we sometimes do and sometimes don't. If you don't have that luxury, then what are you going to do? And that is where you take a certain leap of faith, you try to assess the person still, and after a lot more experience, hopefully you get better at it. You do try to rely on certain other things, references, what they have done, who do they know, so on and so forth. In my particular case, at least as far as the Pune-based VC fund is concerned, we do spend substantial time talking to the entrepreneurs before that investment decision, one way or the other, or even the decision whether we really want to even think about it further. Many times people will make that decision fairly fast, but in our case we actually work with the prospective entrepreneur for quite some time, and we have in many cases, after spending significant time, decided that we don't want to go ahead. There is a reason. I don't think this will always work, and it works in most cases, but our fund has a certain objective which is beyond investment from a financial return point of view, and that is to help the entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship in and around Pune grow. So there is some amount of, if it doesn't happen, then we just say, hey, we hopefully were helpful to somebody in terms of, asking a few critical questions, etc. So no harm done.
Basically, your question was, how do we judge comfort with ambiguity? I think at Seed Fund, we have a simple process. You come and meet three of us. It's like a defenseless lamb in front of three hungry wolves. If you can survive that, you have comfort with ambiguity. So essentially, I mean, a meeting with us is pretty much one of those things where we literally, and this is not so much to show superiority, I think we pretty much ask the entrepreneur ridiculously tough questions. And then we ask for your backstory. The kind of things that you would ask in a job interview. Tell me something you did that we're really proud of. We, as you probably imagine, we don't give a damn about academics and all of those qualification stuff. So, but we really want to know what is that you've done. Yeah. And so one is comfort with ambiguity. The second is the fact that actually, to your earlier question, we don't want a plan B. We basically say, have you burnt your bridges? If you're still working somewhere, I'd say, go leave, start something. Right? And also in terms of the ambiguity, we say we understand it's going to take you some while to figure out the business model. So we have an incubator inside Seed Fund called Seed Farm, where we say, okay, I'll give you 1 crore, 2 crores, whatever it is, come inside, take these 18 months, figure it out. I'll pay you to figure it out. I mean, not market salaries, but you can subsist. You can have dal, food once a day or whatever it is. You can subsist, and then we'll figure out. Then the big funding will come. Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. I totally agree with your point, which you made, that when you actually make a business model and what actually happens are two completely different things. So what are the 2 or 3 critical factors that you put in your initial business model to at least start with? Because you need sort of a strong base, and then it can keep changing, and you sort of keep changing along with it. But to begin with, what are the 2 critical points or factors which you need to have in place so that you can take off?
For us, eventually we want world domination by that company, or at least India domination by that company, right? So you say, what's it going to take you to become #1 in India, in this whatever it is, space sector, whatever you want to call this? Okay, that will come then. What comes like a year before that? That's almost like a logarithmic thing down. Okay, let's say you need to sell 10,000 widgets a month to be #1 in India. You say, okay, so then you'll be steady at 1,000 widgets a month. You say, okay, fine. To prove the model, you have to show me that you can sell 100 widgets a month. So we say, okay, the first part of this plan is going to be saying, okay, tell me from 0 to 100 widgets a month, how are you going to do it? Who are your people? What are you going to figure out? Right? Can you get the team on board? So we literally actually scale it down on that kind of logarithmic base, or not really linear, and say, okay, now go prove this. So actually, our funding is also typically tranched, saying, okay, at this point, when you prove this, you'll get the rest of the money. Now, to prove this, what we also want is not just those 100 widgets a month. I want to know that you've got the team to sell it, and you've got other people along with you, because there are no significant companies in the world I know of which have one person in it. Okay? So it's good to get more than one person. So I'd like to see that earlier rather than later.
This talking about ambiguity and changes as you go along the line, I think initially we should not be thinking in terms of contingency, too many contingencies. Initially focus, whatever the business idea is there, whatever the business plan is there, unless you have a focus on certain idea which is in as per the working out of the entrepreneur, there is a good likelihood of that thing being successful. I think we should focus on that rather than I'm going to change and I'm going to change.
So let me explain that to you. I mean, maybe I haven't made myself answer. If there is an obstacle course, or let's say you're riding a jeep in a jungle, right? And you have to win a race, or whatever it is. The 2 ways to go about this: I will drive at 10 kilometers an hour and figure out where the lay of the land is. I'd rather prefer somebody who drives 100 kilometers an hour, bangs himself, turns around and drives 100 in different directions, bangs himself till he finds a way out. Right? Every one of those legs is deeply focused. But he has the ability to turn on a dime when he figures this isn't working, let me not turn on a dime, let me bang on regardless in a different direction. So I just wanted to kind of explain. It's not over cautioned, like I will not figure it out till I get a Google map and say, because we know that that's not going to happen. But run, keep changing but run.
Okay, my question is, when you start a business, there are certain things, you have a product and you're going to sell something. So there are tangible and intangible things, okay? So whenever you are going to do, wherein you are trying to solve customer pain points, okay, that immediately would not, you do not see a revenue out of it. So example, like companies like Facebook or Twitter, when they started off, they were trying to solve the customer pain points. So when you come across these kind of business ideas, what really you look for, and how do you evaluate and see the benefit out of it?
So, every problem, every solution that you are providing has to have a problem on the other side of it. And it's a question of who gets to it first, who gets to it in the right fashion, the fastest. So when you talk about Google, or you talk about Facebook, they were always competitors to them. Okay, but these are the ones who got it fastest, the right. Isn't it? They identified the right problem, and they actually scaled them. So, like he gave an example of Make My Trip. He gave an example of Naukri.com. If you read the history of Deep Kalra, how he made his travel portal work. There were several points in his life when he almost went bankrupt. Same thing happened with Naukri.com. So, it is right that, there has to be a passion. people with passion, we find find the right solution. Over a period of time, they make mistakes, they correct themselves, but they continue banging at the problem.
Yeah, my question was not related to like an entrepreneur wants to stick. There has to be a passion. He needs to stick to his grounds and this.
Maybe I can just tell me if I understood your question.
Yeah.
You say Facebook and Twitter are you believe are solving a problem or what In my mind, actually, I don't think they are. I think there are two broad kinds of startups, and again, I'm oversimplifying. I call them vitamin startups and Crossing startups, or aspirin startups. An aspirin startup is solving a headache, and the thing about an aspirin startup is genuinely solving a problem. It's like, I will help you cross the road, I'll build a bridge, or whatever. These are things that people will immediately pay money because there's a pain that's going away. A vitamin startup is a nice to have. You give me pleasure, you give me joy. Those are like a multiplex or something. Typically, vitamin startups make money later. Aspirin startups make money earlier, but in the long run, vitamin startups make more money, right? So the curves are different that way. So I judge them differently. I've got both kinds of companies. I'm not worried about one or the other, but I just have to figure out that the collection cycles in the vitamin startup, which is more pleasure giving than pain relieving, as opposed to more pain relieving than pleasure giving. In those things, the money comes later, but it comes in big numbers. It is a very generic answer. There are some exceptions, but I'm somewhat oversimplifying that. Maybe that's the question you were asking. Yeah. Okay. Can a hospital become a spa? Yes, but as long as there is still need for the hospital to be what it is, it doesn't need to become a spa.
Looking at an opportunity, so he started off a BPO without knowing the business model, just grabbed the opportunity from city. I know about him starting Dulali, and I couldn't figure out a place like Pune probably offered him the opportunity. Pleasant surprise the other day, went to Dulali, they asked me after a long time for a valid TiE card to prove that I was over 21. So obviously they know the reason that they're here. So how much does the opportunity and identifying that opportunity at every step play an important role in the entrepreneurial business model as such?
I do not know any other language. See, opportunities, yes, you have to keep looking for opportunities. I'll tell you one small example. I was only in the back office financial space, processing space. But opportunities are like, you should have the confidence to deliver whatever the customer wants, whether you know it or not. The challenge is, you should be able to create a team or find a team who will deliver it for you. Believe it or not, I was the auditor for the data center for 2 years. I do not know technology for nuts, believe me. But I did the security audit for the data center of Citibank cards for 2 years on their prime and wax machines. I don't know what it means. But I did it because I was able to identify the team. There was an opportunity. I did not want to let it go. I did not want any other vendor to come in. So I said, okay, I will take it and I'll deliver it. You'll have to keep looking for opportunities. But the key thing is, you should have the confidence and the ability to deliver. If you can form your team, you need not deliver it yourself. A good manager is a manager who does not do any work. He should be able to supervise and get the work done from others. That's what you should be when you're in the service business. So opportunity